Yo, 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 yo. Yeah, good evening, everyone, and welcome, 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 welcome. Let's see how many people do we have here. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Let's see how many people do we have here. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Let's see how many people have here. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. Um, All right, so we have a video for you this evening just to help set the tone for today's wonderful session that we are going to be teaching out knowledge. Right, so I would like you to enjoy the video, and once you're done enjoying the video, we are going to kickstart. Sorry, don't mind me. Sorry, don't mind me. Okay, that's just a very short video to. Okay, um, so that was just a short video on commitment to get everyone motivated this evening while we start. It was about commitment, and one thing is very much certain that if you're not committed, if you don't decide to take that bold step to do what you want to do, to get started, then nothing is ever going to change. So there is always a need for you to get started. There is always a need for you to be committed to the process, right? Very much important that you're committed to the process, because at different points in time you face different difficulties. You would face different kind of discouragements, right? But until you're committed to the process, nothing is ever going to change. So without wasting much time, we are going to be going straight into the presentation, because this session is meant to last for just about an hour. So it's meant to last for just about an hour, and we have quite a lot to cover this evening. So if you're online, can you just drop a comment on the comment section? Let me see. So if you're online, if you are live with us, can you just drop a comment? Drop a comment. If you are online, if you are live with us, I need you to drop a comment. Yeah, I need you to drop a comment. So how many people do we have here? I need you to drop a comment. If you are live with us, drop a comment. Say something. Hello, everyone. So if you're live with us, can you drop a comment? I'm waiting for a comment. Yeah, okay, Mr. Wilson. I can see Mr. Wilson. I can see Kenechukwu. Yeah, I can see you all. I can see you all. I can see you all. And it's going to be an awesome session this evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. So, at this particular point in time, I'm going to be putting up the slides. So, um, there's somebody at the back end handling some of all these things so that I can be able to focus on giving out the presentation. So our back end guy, Mr. The Unseen Enabler, please, can you put up my slides for me, please? Thank you. Put up my slides for me, please. Okay, please, can you put up the slides? Can you put up the slides so that we can go straight into the presentation without wasting much time? So that all those people that will be coming late, maybe by the time they are coming, we're almost done. Oh, yeah, Mr. Balogun, I can see you, Mr. Balogun. Welcome, very much welcome. So, yes, please, I'm waiting for my slides, please. Can you put up my slides for me? Okay, so once again, welcome to this particular session on qualitative research. And while I was brainstorming and looking at what do we need to cover in this upcoming webinar, I know ever since we have been talking about quantitative research, and so on and so forth. But the truth is that quantitative research methodology is not always the only methodology that is being used, right? Yes, it has its own advantages, it has its own disadvantages as well. Definitely, everything that has an advantage also has everything that has an advantage also has a disadvantage, right? Because there are certain kind of studies that you want to do that doesn't lend itself to quantitative research, especially for those research in the behavioral sciences, in the social sciences, right? You know, human beings are very, very dynamic, right? You being able to understand their actions, being able to understand their inactions. So sometimes there's not always this straight line method for defining that. So it makes it difficult to want to collect numeric data, right? It makes it difficult to want to collect numerical data at every point in time. So in such situations, it becomes necessary that somebody is able to master how to do qualitative research, right? And even the both of them, most times they are not usually standing alone, right? So, oh, Mr. Collins, you're welcome. I can see you, Collins. So, make use of the qualitative methods and also the quantitative. So make use of the qualitative method and also the quantitative method. So the qualitative method helps to build the baseline, and then from there, the quantitative method now takes it up to drill further down into the analysis. So at this moment, please put up my slides for me. Please put up my slides for me. Please put up my slides. My slides. I'm waiting for my slide. I'm waiting for my slides. So thank you very much. So take it to the first slide. To the first slide, please. To the first slide. Take it to the first slide. Let's flow. Take it to the first slide. Okay. So as I said, this is on qualitative research, and it has to do with understanding the ABCs of qualitative research, right? So we are going to look at some of the concepts in qualitative research. We are going to look at the types. We are going to look at the qualitative research methodology. So the way this this webinar is going to flow. Now, I'm going to try as much as possible within 45 minutes to run through my entire presentation. Yeah, I think I have just to give a take, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 8 slides of dedicated lectures, right? So I'm going to go through all of them, and then at the end of the day, we'll have about 15 minutes to ask our questions. So our time is fast spent already. So before I go down into this particular presentation on anything, so one thing this webinar is going to do is to give you a broad view is going to give you a top line understanding, is going to give you a high level understanding of what we are discussing this evening. What that means is that we will not be going into some specific details. Why? Because it is very much broad. So it's not going to be feasible to think that we can cover all of that in 45 minutes. But what I want to achieve now is to give us a broad view, to give us a top line view of what we're about to discuss, so that if you want to do further research, if you want to gain further understanding, you're able to know where and where to focus on, right? You're able to know what and what you need to focus on, and definitely will always call away from you to attend to your questions, right? So thank you very much. So before I go, it's good that you know about the person that is making this presentation this evening, so that it's not a faceless human being, right? Okay. So aside from the fact that that I'm a handsome young person, a handsome young man talking to you this evening, yeah. Uh, so don't mind me. Sometimes I can just joke. Okay, good. So welcome to this webinar on research on qualitative research by KEN-X EDU, and the speaker this evening is Miracle Naji. Please, can you all hear me? If you can hear me loud and clear, can you just type a comment in the comment section, please? If you can hear me clearly, I would like you to drop a comment. I would like you to drop a comment if you can hear me clearly. Hello, everyone. So if you can hear me clearly, I would just like you to drop a comment in the comment section. If you can hear me clearly, I'd like you to drop a comment in the comment section. Comments. You can hear me clearly, drop a comment. Hello, everyone. So if you can hear me clearly, I would just like you to drop a comment. Okay, good. I have a go ahead, so I'm going to continue. All right, so my humble self, my name is Miracle Naji. Yeah, my name is Miracle Naji, and a data analyst and also a research methodology expert with over 5 years of experience. And within that particular time, within this 5 year period, I've been able to train and coach over 400 students in research and data analysis across several disciplines. So both in the social sciences, in health and medical sciences, and in physical sciences. So I graduated from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Yes, by training, I'm a business manager, right? I studied business management in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, where I was privileged to graduate with a first class honors degree and also receive the prestigious Zenith Bank Award for the best graduating management student. And ever since then, I've been very much into the research space because I'm very much passionate about the subject. I'm very much passionate about it because I believe that a nation, an organization, an individual cannot be able to progress in life, cannot be able to advance without research. So that is why it is very much necessary. And then one thing is very much certain, that research is a skill, research is a science, research is an art, right? And like every other particular endeavor, if you don't master it, if you don't understand the principles, how it works, then you will never be effective at it. So I have taken it upon myself to understand these principles and be able to teach these principles to everyone else so that they too can be able to be brilliant researchers, to double their research outputs and become more effective. And I'm also an author, and I've written a book on a master guide to choosing the right statistical analysis, which I'm going to be showing us, telling us a little bit about the book towards the end of the session, right? So that research, the book has helped a lot of researchers, both people that are new into the research space and people that are already experienced but need some kind of further learning, right? Good. So that being said, enough of the talk about me. So by now you know one or two things about me. So if you want to learn more, you can invite me over for a dinner and I'm going to tell you more. So good. Okay, going straight to the presentation, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Edit your next slide. Can you give me the next slide, please? Next slide. Next slide. So good, please put it on slideshow. Put it on slideshow so that it can occupy the screen to make it clearer. Put it on slideshow. Okay, thank you. Put it on slideshow so that it can be very visible for everyone to see. So moving on. So what are we going to be covering today? So we are going to be looking at the definition of qualitative research and reasons for qualitative research to help you understand why qualitative research is important. And then we are going to move on to consider the types of qualitative research methodology. And then also we are going to look at the steps involved in qualitative research methods. Please try as much as possible to put it on slideshow mode so that it is very much legible for all to see. So click on the, thank you. Good. So then we are going to look at, I'm going to take it again. First, we are going to look at the definition of qualitative research and reasons for qualitative research. Secondly, we are going to look at the types of qualitative research methodology. Then number three, we are going to look at the steps involved in qualitative research methods. And then number four, we are going to look at the approaches to data analysis in qualitative research. So those are the four main parts that we are going to be looking at, although each of them have their own different sub-segments. So those are the four major parts we are going to be looking at. So please, can you give me the next slide? Next slide. Next slide. Each of them have their own different sub-segments. So those are the four major parts we are going to. So please, can you give me the next slide? Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, good. So now we're going to be. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Okay, so good. So you can hear me clearly. All right. Okay. So talking about qualitative research, what qualitative research is. Now, qualitative research involves collecting and analyzing non-numerical data, right? Such as text, videos, audio, to understand concepts and experiences. I'm hearing echo, so I don't want to be hearing that. So, it involves collecting and analyzing non-numerical data, e.g., text, based data, video based data, audio, to understand concepts, opinions, or experiences. It helps gather in-depth insights into a problem or generating new ideas for research. Right. So good. The key thing about qualitative research is that it deals with non-numerical data. So the twin brother of qualitative research is the quantitative research. And when you hear quantitative, then we are talking about numbers. So the quantitative research, deals with numerical based data. So you are dealing with numbers, figures, and the rest of them. But qualitative research doesn't deal with numbers, but it deals with different other kinds of data in other forms. Because data doesn't only need to be number. It doesn't need something that is. So data doesn't only need to be something that you find. Please, if you can help me remove echo, I would like it. I'm hearing myself and affecting me. Good. So if all right. So For instance, what we are doing, kind of analysis we are doing is what qualitative analysis. So in qualitative analysis now, you are not just dealing with non-numerical data, so in form of text. Either you are looking at a published literature, you're looking at a published literature, you're looking at published speeches, you are looking at interview transcripts, right? And also not just text, that's something that is written in alphabet. So there are also videos. For instance, now on YouTube, now there are thousands and thousands. What is thousands? There are millions of videos on YouTube, and each of these different videos contains useful data that can be used to solve a particular problem, that can be used to solve a particular answer some questions, right? Questions, right? Then again, we now also have so all of these data forms that are not your normal structured data, that are not your normal quantitative data that you see on your Excel tables and everything and stuff. That is what we are calling what. So that is what we refer to as that's under. Sorry, I can see echo. Hello. Okay, Edijon, please can you handle this? The echo is too much. Okay, so this okay. So people are complaining that the presentation is on echo. Is it still on echo now? I guess not, because I can't hear myself again. All right, is it better now? Can you all hear me? Can you hear me clearly? Can somebody just respond? Can you hear me clearly now? Okay, good. So please, Gideon, try to take care of that so that we don't put up the slide. And okay, good. So you people can hear me now. Okay, thank you very much. So going back to the presentation, so I think the echo stuff has been handled. So now data is in different kind of forms for you. It doesn't only need to be quantitative, it doesn't only need to be in numbers, right? So there are other rich forms of data. Do you understand that one can be able to collect, analyze, and then make valid inferences from them, right? But because of the fact that most people are not knowledgeable enough as to how to go about qualitative analysis, because the truth is that qualitative analysis sometimes can be very complex. So imagine now that you're trying to, for instance, let me give a practical example now. Now you are trying to understand some social issues, right? Or the view of certain policymakers or the view of certain opinion leaders about certain social issues, right? And you want to analyze every single article that have been written concerning that social issue. So let's say for feminism, for instance, right? You want to analyze every single article that have been written about feminism. So imagine the time it's going to take you to sit down to read all of these articles, group them into teams to be able to now make whatever induction you want to make concerning that particular issue. It can take a lot of time, right? So these days now, with some kind of technology tools that are coming up, it's also making that particular, it's also helping out in making qualitative analysis much more seamless than it used to be before, right? So that is a background understanding of what qualitative research is all about. So we understand that it basically deals with non-numeric data, and it can be in text, it can be in audio, it can be in form of videos. So why is qualitative research important? Now, it's very much important because qualitative research, not yet, go back to the other slide. So qualitative research has the advantage of being able to elicit in-depth insights into a subject matter from participants. So like I said earlier, that not always with a research, right, lend itself to quantitative research, especially in situations whereby it's an area that nothing is known about yet. It's an area where information doesn't exist about it yet. So In such situations, it becomes difficult to gather the data that is required, the quantitative data that is required to back up whatever hypothesis that you're having. So in such situations, now the qualitative analysis becomes the first go-to. So what articles are people written in that particular area? So who are the experts in that particular area? Can we call a focus group together to have a discussion with them and try to understand what they think about this particular phenomena that we're experiencing, right? So it allows you to explore, it allows you to gain wide knowledge, it allows you to gain better depth of that particular phenomenon before you can now specifically look at, okay, we understand that these are the different variables here. Which of these variables can we now focus more on, right? And do a much more a quantitative analysis on that. So now we said it yields deeper understanding about a subject matter. Very much important. So now let's say you're trying to understand why people leave a particular organization, right? You are trying to understand why people leave a particular organization, and let's say you do a particular survey that has closed-ended, closed and structured questions, right? And you just tell them to tick: is it leadership? Is it pay? Is it lack of recognition, lack of promotion? And they just come and tick and tick and tick, and then at the end of the day, majority of the people tick leadership, and then you conclude that leadership is the major reason why people leave the organization. But that won't really tell you, that won't really give you the depth of reason why people leave the organization. So in leadership, what is it about the leadership style, right? What is it about the leadership style that is making people to leave that particular organization? So if you're able to sit people down, people that have left the organization before, people that are currently in the organization, sit them down and have a one-on-one interview with them, that they are free to express themselves, right? They are free to express themselves. It's going to yield for you a better depth, for you to now understand the sentiments involved, to understand, it gives you a better understanding why leadership is a factor in that particular organization. So very much important. Then number two is that it generates new understanding and meaning. New understanding and meaning. So for instance, now in the course of having a conversation with these people, right? Now, initially your thought was just the fact that leadership, um, compensation, let's say promotion, recognition, sexual abuses are the, you think that these are the main reasons why people leave the organization. But you may be shocked. You may be shocked that when having a conversation with these people, you might find them saying things like family, 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 family. And to you, you never imagined how family could have been a factor, right? So with that free flow of communication, you're able to understand, you're able to pick and find another variable, which is family, that you never knew was a factor before. Are we together? You're able to find family as a factor that you never knew before. So it generates new understanding, right? So with that, now you can now do further analysis to now say, okay, let us drill down more into this family issue. What is the reason why? What is it about family that make people leave their jobs? Right? Could it be about spouse issues, so a husband and wife having issues, or could it be about their children, right? So different things that you start exploring. So qualitative research helps you to generate new understanding and what meaning, right? And most times qualitative research, for instance, now um where you are probing into a new area that nothing is known about, that you don't even know the hypothesis that you want to formulate first. So all you just know is that you want to understand that particular subject matter. So you start asking questions, So just to explore every possible variable, just to explore every possible thing that could emerge from that particular inquiry, right? So once you're able to do all of this, it helps you to set the baseline of all the different factors, right? So from there you can now decide which of these factors that you want to focus on. Then it now gives way to a quantitative kind of analysis. So right, good. And then another thing about qualitative research is that it's more flexible. right? It's more flexible than the quantitative research. In quantitative research methodology, there is always a structure. There is always structured approaches to follow, right? So which makes it difficult to conform to certain dynamics, like I said, especially with behavioral research, right? Especially with behavioral research in the social sciences, that human beings are very dynamic, right? So sometimes this kind of structured approach may not really work. So some qualitative research now becomes the go-to in such situations. Now, another thing about it is that it yields understanding about setting and context. It yields understanding about setting and context. Very much important. So when we talk about setting and context, now, can you all hear me? Okay, good, good. If we are finding the session interesting, can you just type in the comment section that you're getting value? I need some feedbacks. Is the session going well for you? Just I need some feedback. Type in the comment section and express yourself. So good. Um, I said something that qualitative research, it yields understanding about setting and context, and these two things are very much important. Are we together? These two things of setting and context are very much important to making interpretations about certain situations, right? So when we talk about setting now, there is a particular research methodology under the qualitative method that has to do with the researcher putting himself into the natural environment where that particular thing he's studying is happening. So he's experiencing it firsthand, he's observing it firsthand. And we know that people can behave differently in different kinds of settings, right? People can behave differently in different kind of settings. So it could be that somebody can react in a way, right, because of the setting at that particular moment. So let's say some employees have a pattern of some kind of behaviors they do, right, over a particular period of time. And it could be that that behavior is necessitated by the kind of supervisor they have at that particular moment, right? So if you do a quantitative research at that particular period without taking note, which doesn't bring into consideration that particular setting, right, it could be assumed that the employees do not behave well. And then you come another time to do another research, and they have another supervisor that is more friendly. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Balogun. So you have another supervisor, they have another supervisor that is much friendly and can interact more with the people, and their behavior is different, right? And their behavior is different at that particular point in time. But the quantitative research will not factor in the differences in setting. But the qualitative research is able to factor in these differences in setting, and is able to make better judgments, and is able to make better interpretations of the situation at hand. And also context. Certain things, when taken out of context, the meaning may be misconstrued, right? Certain things, when taken out of context, the meaning may be misconstrued. So, for instance, now let me just give us a very, very simple example. Now, when we talk about bank, depending on the context we are using the word bank, it can mean a financial institution or the side of a river. Are we together? Or the side of a what? A river. So if we take certain things out of context, the meaning will be misconstrued. And quantitative research most times have this problem of taking things out of context, right? So qualitative research helps us to build a context around what we are studying, understand the setting of what we are studying, and then we're able to make better interpretations about it, right? So that is why qualitative research is very much important. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, good. So now we've talked about that aspect. We've talked about what qualitative research is, why is it important. So now let's look at qualitative research methods, right? Let us look at what qualitative research methods. This is very much important because, definitely, if for those of us in the academia, for those of us working on one particular academic research or and so forth, in your research methodology, it's always a requirement that you have a statement of your methodology, what kind of methodology that you are following. and you know the methodology you are adopting is going to inform what kind of research design you are going to be adopting. It's going to inform what kind of how you are going to go about collecting your data, right? How you are going to go about analyzing your data, and how you're going to go about presenting your findings, right? So we have different kind of research methods in the different kind of methods in qualitative research. And please, let's not get this thing twisted. You know, when you go online, you see several things. You see some of them will make it 6, some of them will make it 7, some of them will make it 8. But over the years, I've tried to structure it, because one thing I like to do, one thing I believe in is that knowledge is good, but it's also important how you learn. It's important for structure, yet for a structure to be put to how you learn. It's going to help you a lot. If you have an unstructured pattern of learning, it's going to really affect your growth, right? So good. Now I've been able to structure the qualitative research method. I decided to structure the qualitative research methods into 5. We have the ethnography, we have the narrative, we have the phenomenological qualitative research methods, we have the grounded theory research methods, we have the case study research methods. And then what I'm going to do now is to give you an overview of all of them. Like I said from the outset, that we will not be going drilling down to the specific detail, but more or less to give you a top line view, more or less to give you a high level view of what we are discussing, so that you can better appreciate where you are lacking in knowledge, and then you can be able to make up for that place that you are lacking in knowledge, right? So good. Are we good up to this point? Are we good up to this point? Are we good up to this point? If you can hear me, can you drop something? Can you say something in the comment section? If you can hear me and you can still see the slide presentation, drop something in the comment section. Okay. Um, can somebody drop right in the comment section if you can hear me? If you can hear me, drop in the comment section. So good. Moving on, my slide, please. My slide. Please put up the slide, because I'm about to say something very much important and I want everybody to see it. Put up the slide. Okay, so we mentioned 5. I mentioned 5 qualitative research methods. Number 1, I spoke of ethnography. Number 2, I spoke of the narrative. Number 3, I spoke of the phenomenological qualitative research methods. I spoke of the grounded theory, and also I spoke of the case study. So now starting with the, okay, good, thank you. Okay, good. So starting with the ethnography, we said that this is the type of research design where the researcher, right, where the researcher immerses himself or herself into the target participant environment to understand the goals, cultures, challenges, motivations, and themes that emerge, right? So good. Now, like I already gave a particular example on this before. So, and I said, and I've been saying it before, that qualitative research most times is in the social sciences, most times is in the behavioral sciences, because of the dynamics in human behavior, right? Because of the dynamics in human behavior. So the ethnography now, the researcher is a core part of the environment. Are we together? So the researcher is not making use of a reported speech. Okay, you had an interview with this person and this person said this and this person said that. No, you are putting yourself into that environment to observe for yourself firsthand what is happening. Are we together? And I'm going to use this particular example. Sorry that I'm using much of HR, human resource related kind of examples. Reason being because I'm also a human resource practitioner, right? Soon to be an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. So I love human resource a lot too. That's why I use the examples. So good. Now there's something about the culture of an organization, right? The way people have a culture, the way a society have a culture, that is the way an organization has a culture. And different cultures in an organization helps to shape the organization in terms of how they behave, how they conduct themselves, how they go about their operations, and every other thing, right? So the culture is very much important. So now let's say as a HR professional, you want to understand how the cultures of, let's say, the big companies in financial institutions differ from each other, right? How the big companies, the culture of the big companies in the financial industry differ from each other. So it's also going to be valid if you decide to say, okay, let me interview some of the employees in that organization to learn from them what the culture is like in the organization. Okay, do you have a friendly culture? Do you have a culture of teamwork? Do you have a culture of integrity? Do you have a culture that respects people? Right? You can ask all of these questions. And the truth there is that the kind of responses they will give to you, they may give you the response, maybe they're afraid, they don't want to, they feel like maybe you are going to go and say it to somebody and then they are going to stand a chance of losing their jobs, or they want to say something good about their company, but chances are they might not tell you the real thing that you want to hear, right? So the ethnography research methodology, now the researcher becomes a core part of that organization. So the guy takes up a, let me say for instance, becomes a let's say an employee of that particular organization, observing the day-to-day operations of the organization, understanding the day-to-day activities in the organization and how people behave and how they conduct themselves, why they go about their different activities, right? So so what the person, the researcher is going to be doing is that he's taking he's observing and he's taking records, right? He's observing and he's taking records. And when he's taking all these records, he's able to understand what informs their decisions. He's able to understand what the culture is like. He's able to understand what motivates people's actions. What is the reason behind the actions of people in that organization? So the people are hardworking. Yes, they are hardworking. They are hardworking. But are they really hardworking because they love their jobs or because they are afraid of being fired? I don't know whether we get the point. You know, there is a difference between the two of them. So one is doing it out of fulfillment, that I love my job, and the other one is doing it out of fear that if I don't do it, I'm going to lose my job. Are we together? So the person is not doing it because he or she loves the job. So the qualitative research helps you to understand this, right? So if you just do a quantitative tick tick tick, you just tell you, okay, people are hardworking, people are hardworking, people are hardworking, but you don't understand context to say, okay, people are hardworking not because they love their job, but because not because they love what they are doing, but because they are afraid of losing the job. Do you understand? So the ethnography qualitative research method puts you into that situation, puts you into that environment to be able to understand the setting, to be able to experience it how as it happens, right? So different. So the ethnography, most times people don't want to use that one because it takes a long time. Do you understand? Because it's something that will span over a period. So if you want to really understand the culture of an organization, it's not something that's in 3 days, especially of these big guys, big companies. It's not something you do in 2 days. It's not something you do in 3 days. So it's something that you work with them for over a time before you're able to understand it in detail, right? So it takes time. So that's why most people don't want to engage in it. Hope that's clear enough. Okay, great. Hope that's clear. Now, moving on, we now talk about the narrative. The narrative. So when we talk about the narrative now, it is a group of approaches that relies on the written or spoken words to understand how participant perceives and makes sense out of their what experiences. Out of their what experiences. So just as the name, let me just explain it as simple as possible. Now, when we talk about narrative, we are talking about it's from the root word narrate, right? When somebody is narrating something, that means somebody is telling you something out of their own personal experiences, right? How people are telling you certain the things about out of their own what personal experiences. So now what you are trying to do is to see how, so what you are trying to do is to make sense out of these personal experiences, to make sense out of these experiences that people are sharing. Now you now group them together to see similarities between the experiences of people, or the narrative of of people within that particular class. So for instance, now let me give you us an instance. Now, okay, let's say okay, so now some people experience apartheid, right? Some people experience racial discrimination at that particular point where it was at its heightened level, right? So now, for somebody like Nelson Mandela, he experienced apartheid in its real form. He experienced apartheid firsthand. Are we together? So, if you want to understand properly how the kind of impact that apartheid has had on the people of South Africa at that particular point in time, you two things: you start reading literatures about apartheid, right? Or you read the personal experiences, you read the personal narrative of people that experience apartheid. So, somebody like Nelson Mandela, he wrote a book, Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. Right, he wrote a book, Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom, which was an autobiography from the time he started up onto up onto the point where he left prison, became the president of South Africa. He gave a good narrative of the story, about the apartheid story, right? So it was him narrating his experiences, right? Of which just him alone may not be sufficient enough to give you a broad view of what the whole impact of that apartheid at that particular period in time. So what do you now do? You also look at the narratives of other people that experience apartheid. Right? You look at the experiences of other people that experience appetite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And at the end of the day, when going through their own stories, when going through their own analysis, their own narratives, you're able to link, to make sense out of their experiences. So when you see people making use of the word, things like torture, dehumanization, suffering, and the rest of them, that starts helping you to paint a mental picture of what appetite, what is expected in appetite. That you people are dehumanized, people are suffering, a lot of issues. So that is the narrative. It looks at an encounter, people's experiences, people's narratives about an event that occurred. So from there, you can be able to make better sense out of it. Are we good? Are we following? Hope we are following. I would like to see a comment. I would like to see a comment in the comment section. Like to see a comment in the comment section. Okay, good. So going on, we now talked about the third one, phenomenological. Don't mind, sometimes English will just be doing anyhow. So phenomenological qualitative research method, you say it aims to understand the meaning of people's lived experience. It explores what people experiences and focuses on the experience of a particular phenomenon. So now, this phenomenological approach of qualitative research is almost also similar to the narrative, right? It's almost similar to the narrative, but it differs in the sense that now I didn't add that particular aspect just because of the fact that I didn't want the stuff to be so lengthy. So now it is different in the fact that now that particular one, phenomenological, the focus is not really much of the individual's experiences. The focus is much of the events that occurred. Do you understand? The focus is really much about the events that occurred at that particular point in time. So by trying to understand the events that occurred at that particular point in time, the person is able to have a better appreciation of that particular phenomenon. So let's say, for instance, now for the narrative, the focus is on what Mandela said about appetite, right? What person A, person B, person C, person D said about appetite, their own personal experiences, their own personal narrative, right? But the phenomenological, the focus is not on the people in question, but the focus is on the event that transpired. So the appetite that transpired, that is the focus. Of which from there now drill down to consider what people so in the process of trying to gather the data to explain that particular event, that is where you now start engaging people, sharing their experiences to better understand the phenomena that you're studying, which is appetite. Right, so let us get that difference. Then moving on, we now talk about the grounded theory. We talk about the grounded theory. So this method aims at constructing theories based on data collected, right? It begins with a question, then collect qualitative data. As researchers review data, certain things that emerge are grouped together. So, and when we talk about theory, we know that a theory are propositions that are put forth to explain a particular phenomena, right? So when we talk about which theory now am I going to? Okay, because I'm from social sciences, let me show the theory of what demand and supply. Right, the theory of demand and supply, that all things being equal, when the prices go up, that the quantity demanded is going to come down, and when prices come down, the quantity demanded is going to go up. That is a theory. So it's based on an observation of patterns that theory has been formed, right? So the grounded theory approach now tries to do what? Come up, construct what? Theories, right? It tries to do what? Construct theories that explain certain phenomena, that explain certain social behaviors, right? Because in some of the other approaches, the focus is not majorly on coming up with a one word, with a, let's say, a principle, a theory that explains everything, because they understand that uh, 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 they understand that experiences differ and human beings are dynamic, right? So there's not always this one size fits or one straight thing that you say that when Obi sees Ada, that Obi will definitely fall in love with Ada. It doesn't happen like that. Obi, that particular point in time, he may be thinking something else, and even if Ada is so fine, she will not even look at Ada two times. Hello, so good. But in the grounded theory approach now, it tries to come up with a theory that explains that particular phenomena, and it does this by collecting qualitative data, doing interviews, right? Collecting qualitative data, doing interviews, and then once you're able to do this thing, you now group them into teams. By grouping them into teams, so you are putting them like in a bucket based on similarity. So this team talks about love, this team talks about kindness and stuff like that. So you group them into teams. At the end of the day, you now make some kind of logical inductive what theory, right? So the grounded theory approach tries to come up with a theory, are we together, based on observed data. Now the next one we'll now talk about is the case study. Can we still hear me? Are we following? Are we following? Please, can somebody type something in the comment section so that I know that I'm not just talking to myself? Can somebody just type something in the comment section? Yeah. Okay, great, perfect. Now, good. Moving on, we now talk about the case study approach. Now, the case study approach provides tools for researchers to study complex phenomena within their context through various data sources, and it undertakes the exploration through variety of lenses in order to better understand the phenomenon. So the case study approach now brings a particular situation, right? Brings a particular situation and considers data in different forms. So, for instance, now in HR, for instance, now we might have a case study of employee turnover, and then we are looking at, let's say, okay, let's say KPMG, for instance, which is in the professional service industry, right? And it said that all those that the employee turnover rate there is high, right? So we are now doing a case study there to understand why employee turnover rates, or let's say, okay, let's say KPNG, for instance, now has a high employee turnover, but now a manager, one of the principal partners or managing partner that they had at a particular point in time initiated one particular policy like that, or there's something, one kind change he brought in the leadership style, and their turnover rate dropped from, let's say, 30% to like 11%, and then we'll now prepare a case study on that, to on the approach that the the manager, the managing partner applied, that reduce the employee turnover from that percentage of 30% to 11%. So what we'll now do is that we'll now present the case. Okay, manager, this at social point in time they had turnover, they had high employee turnover, but manager this came and did something like this, and the employee turnover came down to 11%, right? I will now present different data, right? To present different data, we present data of let's say, for instance, employee turnover record before and employee turnover records after. We present information about the different policies that was in existence before and the new policies that came in. We'll now look at the changes that was made in the leadership that were made in the leadership structure, that they brought in this HR professional, they brought in that manager, and all of these things. What is the goal? We are trying to understand how all of these things that was presented was able to help crash the employee turnover rate from 30% to 11%. So there is no one right answer. So people are looking at it from different contexts. So somebody might be looking at it from the context that I think that something about the leadership, the changes in leadership, bringing new HR professionals, bringing new associate managers into the organization. Those are the things that we can attribute to the reason why it came from 30% to 11%. Another person will say, no, I don't think that is the only one. I think that because he now increased the bonuses from 50,000 naira bonuses to 100,000 naira bonuses, that is what crashed. So you see, ideas are coming from different places. So something that is as complex as the why people leave an organization, we're able to build some kind of framework through the case study. Right, so the case study is a very vital approach in qualitative research methods. So it involves a lot of brainstorming, it involves a lot of data synthesis, right? And also it was popularized by the Harvard Business School. Sorry, it was popularized by Harvard University, right? So that's an overview of the different qualitative research methods we have. So we have the ethnography, we have the narrative, we have the phenomenological, we have the grounded theory, and then we have the case study. So good. The next thing we are going to now look at is the steps. So please take me to the next slide, the steps in qualitative research methods. Okay, thank you, Mr. Balogun, and thank you, Mr. Wilson, for that feedback. So good. Now we are now looking at the steps in qualitative research method. So when you want to engage in qualitative research, where do you start and where do you end? Right. So I intentionally grouped the qualitative research methods the way I grouped them, right? Because I see a lot of confusion with some of the information out there. So you see people putting things like focus groups, you see people putting things as interviews, you see people putting things like a lot of stuff as the different types of research methodologies. Me, I have an issue with that. I feel like those things are just what we call the different approaches for collecting qualitative data and not the methodology itself. So for instance, now the ethnography that we looked at can use the observational approach of collecting data. Are we together? It can use the observational approach of collecting data. The narrative that we looked at can use interviews. It can use a focus group. Do you understand? So different approaches of collecting the data. You can use the interviews, right? So even for the grounded theory, you can use different aspects. You can decide to use interviews to collect data. It can decide to use focus groups. Do you understand? So I feel like those other additions are actually the methods of data collection in qualitative research. So that's just aside. Now, when we talk about the steps in qualitative research method, so after the whole normal thing, you know your objective that you are targeting and the rest of them. So the next thing we need to do is to do what? The first step is collecting the data. And we know that we are not dealing with data that is in numeric form, right? But we are dealing with what? Non-numeric data. Right, we are dealing with what? Non-numeric data. So we have this data can be obtained from how we can collect our qualitative data both from primary sources and also secondary sources. So what are those primary sources of collecting qualitative data? We have the focus groups. Right, we have the focus group. So the focus group now is that, for instance, now you pull in experts. So let's say at that particular point in time, whereby when coronavirus started, so we now bring in the flying different medical experts from different places. So they start talking about what could be the cause of this virus, how could this virus, so what would have led to the outbreak of this virus. So they are just throwing their own opinions, throwing their ideas on the board, and then they are saying all of these things, and at the end of the day it's now grouped into teams to say, okay, this expert talked about this expert talked about this, it is similar to what Mr. A and B said, and we start grouping them together. Are we together? And then your focus group doesn't have to be experts alone. So for instance, now let's say as a product manager, you decide to launch a new product, right? And you want to understand, and this product is something that will be used, it's not age specific, so young people can use it, old people can use it, middle age people can also use it. So you now decide to bring in a focus group of people across each of these different age groups to now understand from them firsthand how, what their preferences are about this particular product. So you can decide to bring in people from age 5 to 10, people from 10 to, do you understand? So that's what the focus group is in a nutshell. And then again, we now have the secondary, we not just the focus group, we also have interviews. We can also make use of interviews. So you have a one-on-one interview with people, you call people together and interview them so that they get to express themselves. Also, we can also use open-ended surveys. So it's not your normal structured one whereby you have multi-choice questions and they have to select. But this time around, if the question is open, so they can be able to express themselves and say what they think about that particular phenomenon. So good. And then we also have observation. So it's almost, the observation now is that you go into that particular habitat, you go into that particular environment and observe for yourself firsthand how things are being done within that particular setting, right? So there are lots of other ones that you could explore. Then for the secondary sources now, these are the ones that you did not create yourself, they're already there for you, right? So we have the published literature, so you can look at newspapers, magazines, books, different kind of text-based records, and then also videos and audio, right? Videos and audios, right? So we have several videos on YouTube. Yeah, for some of us, we may not be able to understand how these videos can be analyzed, but there are technological tools for analyzing these videos and also synthesizing these audios. Good. So after that, after you've collected your data, so let's say you had an interview with somebody. So the next thing you need to do now is to prepare and organize your data. So the preparing your and organizing your data now, for instance, you had an interview, you have to transcribe that interview into text so that it's going to make it easier for analysis. Or then you made some kind of notes, for instance, now while you're observing the culture, let's say for the you collected data by observation, so every day you were taking notes of what transpired in that particular organization. So at this particular point in time, you want to now analyze, look at the data you've collected so far. You may want to now organize the notes in chronological order. So you start from day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. If you don't do it, you can start reading something in day 10, and you may not understand properly because what happened in day 10 was necessitated by what happened in day 5. So it becomes necessary for you to organize your notes. So in times whereby it doesn't have to always be chronological. Do you understand? So sometimes you can organize these notes in teams. So this note was talking about organizational structure. This note was talking about culture. This note was talking about strategy. Do you understand? So you group all these things all together in teams. So that's what the organizing has to do with preparing and organizing your data. Then the next thing is to review and explore the data. So this stage requires that you read through your data. So we are talking about qualitative. So you've taken down notes, you have to read through those notes. You brought in magazines, you have to read those magazines to be able to have an informed understanding of what that particular text is talking about. So from there also you can be able to understand the different themes that happen. I remember those days when we are doing book review, they'll tell you that, okay, review this book, also review its theme. Okay, you need to teach yourself the theme. What is the theme? You start seeing themes of, we have theme of love, we have theme of hatred, we have theme of this, but you not know all these different things if you did not read the book. right? So if you have collected videos, you study those videos, you play it over and over again to be able to spot those salient points, to be able to spot the patterns. Okay, with this particular author now, this author is talking, always mentioning this, always mentioning this, always mentioning love, always mentioning hatred, always mentioning diplomacy. Why? So you start seeing patterns, right? Then the next stage is now to develop and review code. So when doing qualitative analysis, I wanted to show us a particular picture of this coding stuff, but I couldn't. I forgot to add it to the slide, right? So now you've studied all of these works, you studied all of this literature, so you need to give them, you need to start organizing them, and to do that, building them together in teams, you give them codes, right? So develop an initial set of codes to categorize your data into teams. So we can use an open coding. So the open coding now is just for you giving them broad teams, like I said, right? These are the codes we are talking about. So we are talking about employee engagement, right? Is one code. We are talking about employee compensation is another code based on your studies. So you start grouping these things into teams, right? And then after you have looked at that, there is also a need for you to review your coding again. So at the end of the day, what you might not be doing, you might think that, okay, this team, we can group this team together, we can group this team and another team together to form another, let's say, one group. Do you understand? So there is need for you to review the coding system again to be able to make better analysis. Then another thing, the next one is to identify recurring teams. So you identify recurring teams and link teams together. So which ones are related to each other, which ones are similar to each other. Do you understand? So that you can be able to have one cohesive team to say, okay, all of these things that we have organized together, it is talking about this, right? Because sometimes qualitative research will lead to some kind of inductive based conclusion. Are we together? So those are the major steps. So now I decided to cover analysis. What are the different methods for analyzing quantitative data as a separate slide? So please take me to the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, good. So types of qualitative data analysis. This is very, very much awesome, guys. This is very much awesome. So now we have one of them, content analysis, right? What is content analysis? It is used to identify patterns in recorded what communication. It is used to understand what patterns in recorded of communication. So now you are looking at text, for instance, you are looking at you have studied the text, you studied the magazine, and you are trying to spot what patterns in the communication, right? So content analysis can be quantitative. Sorry. So content analysis can be quantitative, then also which is focused on counting and measuring, and it can also be qualitative, which is focused on interpreting and understanding. Now I'm going to explain with this very, very wonderful example. So now if we see look at the image by the down left corner, it is called a word cloud. Are we together? It is called a word cloud. So now if we look at that image properly, we see some of the text are enlarged. Embarrassment is enlarged. Affair is enlarged, and feeling is enlarged, prince is enlarged, right? So now when it comes to content analysis, the quantitative aspect, now that one takes count of words that are reoccurring in a particular, let's say, in a particular content studied, in a particular text studied. So if we had interviews with 10 different employees and we transcribe that interview and all of them keep on using the word, we keep on hearing the word leadership, 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 satisfaction, performance. So this gives you an idea. What is that word about performance? What is that thing about leadership, right? So that one is just basically taking that aspect of content analysis that is quantitative, is taking count of the recurring words, right? And very much important, guys, Now, most of these things are getting, these things are advancing now. So this particular word cloud that we are seeing now, it was created by a computer software altogether. And the advancement that now we'll talk about natural language processing, which is also, which is a step in AI, like, right, is which is step in AI, artificial intelligence, whereby machines try to understand human languages and make interpretation about human languages. So good. Now, this particular word cloud now, it's their algorithms to generate, be able to generate them. Do you understand? So it analyzes a text, right? There was this particular research somebody was doing, and it was able to analyze, I think, about 5,000 pages of text in 25 minutes. 5,000 pages of text in 25 minutes. Imagine now that it is a human being that is reading through 5,000 pages to be able to find words that are recurring. How long is it going to take that person to do it? So these were some of the challenges that content analysis, that qualitative analysis was having in time past, but is being solved by technology, because technology is getting more advanced and we're able to do more with technology. So you can imagine that 5,000 pages of text was analyzed within 25 minutes, and this word cloud you see here was generated. Are we together? This word cloud you see here was generated by analyzing 5,000 pages of text within 25 minutes. So this is the quantitative approach, but that doesn't give us a good understanding. So if we're talking about embarrassment, what was the person talking about in embarrassment? So that doesn't give you that kind of level of understanding. So it passes to the second level of qualitative analysis, which is focused on what, interpreting and having understanding. So why the quantitative approach just takes count, the qualitative aspect of content analysis puts it into context, right? So it traces those words, embarrassment, into where they occur within that particular text to see other phrases surrounding it. So for instance now, okay, let me use this example. Now, a typical word cloud, we see bank, it will recognize bank as bank, and it will increase. Let's say bank occurred 10 times, right? So, or bank occurred 10 times. The quantitative part of content analysis, we count that bank. That bank, I saw bank in that book 10 times. So, but then it doesn't tell us whether the bank in question, is it a financial institution or bank as in the bank of a river. Are we together? So it only takes count to tell us that bank occurred 10 times, but it doesn't tell us, it doesn't give us context, right? So this passes to the qualitative aspect of the content analysis approach to now try to understand context. So we place the words side by side with where the phrases occur. So we now find out that 7 out of the 10 places where that word bank was mentioned, it was talking about the bank of the river, not bank as in a financial institution. Are we following? Is it making sense? Do we understand? Do we understand? Like, is it making sense to us? Please, if it's making sense, please let me get some comments. Some comments, please. Is this making sense? So very much important, guys. Things are getting advanced, but man, wahala for you. Let me speak it in broken. Wahala for you. They are still backward. Things are changing. Do you understand? So there are different. For some of us, when we rolled out our for instance, in Python programming now, if you know how to use Python programming, so there are libraries that you can use to analyze text. There are libraries you can use to analyze text. Are we together? I know I mentioned something about natural language processing for us. So the natural language processing also helps you to even do beyond the quantitative aspect, to do the qualitative aspect of content analysis, where we are doing sentiment analysis. Are we together? So it's part of natural language processing, but I won't get into all of that so that I will not confuse us. So like I said, this is just a, a high level understanding that I want to give us this evening. So good. Moving on. We now talked about the second one, which is what, thematic analysis. thematic analysis. It is a method of analyzing qualitative data. It is usually applied to a set of texts such as interview transcripts. The researcher closely examines this data to identify common themes, topics, ideas, and patterns. It's a good approach to research where you are trying to find out something people's opinion, views, opinion, knowledge, experiences, or values, right? So now, sometimes most of these methods of analysis, they crisscross each other. That's just tiny points of what differences. So the major focus of the thematic analysis is try to understand people's opinion, right? Is trying to understand people's opinion. But for that of content analysis is to consider what recorded what communication. So it's more or less what's the word now? So let's use it. This the content analysis is more or less a literal understanding. So what we are seeing, in this speech, we are reporting what we are seeing in this speech. But for the thematic analysis, it tries to understand the opinions. What are the views? What are those? Let's see, what's the word now? What are those deep sitting? What are those subconscious aspects that is informing whatever communications, there are communication patterns that we are having. So at that particular point in time, what counts is not our focus, but what our focus is in identifying the opinions, identifying themes, right? Themes. So, and then again, I forgot to say something about when I mentioned the secondary source of data. Guys, these days people now analyze tweets. I can analyze tweets with Twitter. Yes, Twitter, WhatsApp messages with Python. You can do it. Yes, yes, with Python you can do it. And you know, people go to Twitter. You understand? So during that particular COVID time, during that particular COVID time, I was with a research institute, a private research institute, and to build a base, we wanted to undertake a research on the impact of COVID-19 on people at that particular point in time. But at that moment, we didn't just want to just do a deep dive and say, just throw ourselves in and say, economic impact of COVID-19, social impact of COVID-19. Yes, there could be economic impact. Yes, there will be social impact. But does that necessarily mean that that is the core of the impact people are having at that particular period? We didn't know. So what we wanted to do was to do a content analysis of tweets, thousands of tweets within that particular period, to now group them into themes of what people are talking about. Okay, people are talking about more about economic impact. So if we now identify that, okay, much of the tweets towards economic impact, that gives us, sorry. So if people are talking more about economic impact, that gives us a valid basis to say, okay, yes, let us do a deep dive into economic impact and see what we can find, right? So very much, even WhatsApp messages, all your group chats, all the group chats in that group you belong to, you have been talking since, you can do an analysis on the chats. Yes. Yes, I said yes. Good. So don't mind me. Moving on. So if you are getting value, can you type in the comment section that I'm getting value? Like, type in the comment section that I'm getting value. Let me know that I'm not talking to myself here. Yes. Type in the comment section. I want to see the comment. I'm getting value. So moving on. We now talk about what. Please take me to the next slide. Take me to the next slide. Edidion, take me to the next slide. Next slide, please. Give me my next slide. So good. So we now have the types of other types. We now have textual analysis. So textual analysis is a methodology that involves understanding language, symbols, or pictures present in text to gain information regarding how people make sense of and communicate life and life experiences. So don't be deceived by that word text, right? So text not necessarily just alphabet, so A, B, C, D. No, in textual analysis, we also do an analysis on images. Are we together? We also do an analysis on images. We do analysis on symbols. Do you understand? So now, for instance, there are certain, I saw a movie. I saw a movie, Lie to Me. It's a serious movie. I think that was 4 or 5 years ago. So the man is a psychologist, and he can be able to tell whether a person is lying. is able to tell whether a person is lying based on some kind of gestures, some kind of behavior, some kind of actions. So maybe the way the person is squeezing his face, or the way the person's pupils dilate. Do you understand? Or the way the person makes his hand somehow. Do you understand? So good. Now in textual analysis, now you can be able to look at different images, and with the images you can be able to see. For instance, now you are trying to understand why people commit suicide. Are we together? We are trying to understand why people commit suicide, and we're able to lay our hands on the pictures of people 2 days, let me say a day before they committed suicide. Are we following? Why people commit suicide? We're able to get the picture, or will I say, we are trying to see how we can be able to predict, understand, see that a person is going to commit suicide. So we're able to get pictures of 1,000 people, 100,000 people that committed suicide a day before they committed suicide. Their pictures. And then by analyzing their pictures, we're able to find out that there is a way will I say, their forehead, there is a wrinkle on their forehead that is indicate, and when we see that thing as a pattern in 1,000 of them, then it's something will be telling us that once we see somebody that has that kind of wrinkle formed in his face, then chances are that that person wants to commit suicide. Then we have to nab that person and carry the person and go and keep one place before the person will commit suicide. Do you understand? So it might sound overwhelming, but guess what? There are technological tools for analyzing images. With Python, you can analyze images. Yes, there are Python libraries for analyzing images. These days, we also do image recognition. All of these things are possible. Are we together? All these things are possible. The only thing there is that we are limited by our level of knowledge. We are limited by our level of exposure. Oh, we think it's just a questionnaire, design questionnaire and start distributing questionnaire. They have gone far. They have gone far. Let me speak it like a Yoruba person. It have gone far. So you need to upgrade yourself. Good thing that you came for. Those of you that came out for this webinar, I know by now you are not living the same way you came, because your mindset have been opened to see other things that are possible that you did not know before. You did not know before. I'm very for free, for free. No problem. Let's continue. So the last one, the last one is the discourse analysis. Discourse analysis is a research method for studying written or spoken language in relation to its social context. It aims to understand how language is used in real life situations. So the discourse analysis common qualitative in most times in social sciences, in humanities, we use the discourse analysis. So the focus there is on language. So people's use of language, right? Their use of language, how does it affect their communication pattern? How does it affect their real life, their realities? Do you understand? So the focus on that one is on communication patterns. Are we together? The focus on that one is on communication patterns. So we have been able to consider the content analysis, we've considered textual analysis, we considered the discourse analysis, we also looked at the thematic analysis. And like I said, what we want to do is to give you a high level understanding of all of these concepts, so that you see what is possible, so that your mindset is going to be much more exposed, right? Then you can now say, okay, man, it places you in a better position to say, well, I think this work I'm working on now, content analysis applies, or this work I'm working on, I think, is the ethnographic qualitative research design research method that applies to this. Then you can now take a more educated step to now say, okay, how do I understand this one best? And that is where we are here to help. So with this, we've looked at the definition of qualitative research, where we said that it has to do with analysis of non-numeric data like text, audios, and videos. And we looked at the reason why it is important, and we say that it helps to yield depth of insight, helps to generate new understanding, and also we looked at all other different points, and from there we moved to consider the different research methodologies that we have in qualitative methods. So we have the ethnographic, we have the narrative, we have the phenomenological, we have the grounded theory, and also we have the case study. And from there we moved on to consider the different steps in qualitative research. So we start from collecting the data, either primary data or secondary data, and then you move to preparing and organizing your data. From there, you move to reviewing and exploring, and from there, you move to coding and reviewing your codes, and from there, you also now move to um, um, oh, what's that last one again? 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 I've forgotten. So identify recurring themes. Yeah, identifying recurring themes. So from there, we now also looked at the types of qualitative data analysis, where we talked about the content analysis, we looked at the thematic analysis, we looked at the textual analysis, and we looked at the discourse analysis. And with that, I say thank you. Thank you very much for listening. So, in a few minutes, I'm going to ask for questions. So, if you have questions, please put first if you got value. So, please, with this, I say is the end. Thank you. So, I need to take your questions now. So, I'm just going to take two questions because of our time. So, if you have a question, you can just post that on the comment section. Yeah. If you have a question, you can post that on the comment section. So while we are waiting for the comments to come, I would just like to show us a few things. Edidion, can you take me to the next slide? So in case you are wondering, who are these guys? So it's there it's there on your screen. In case you're wondering who are these guys, it's there on your screen. So who we are, this is KEN-X EDU, which is a fast-growing data analytics training and consulting firm set to help individuals and institutions groom analytical talents for the next industrial revolution. So we have our different services in data analytics, providing data analytics as a service to both institutions, corporate organizations, government parastatals, and stuff. And then the next one is in research. So this one is focused majorly on academic based research, where we're able to train people on research methodology. We're able to provide coaching services to people that are frequent researchers. And then in our data academy, so our data academy, that's where all our trainings relating to data analytics happen. So we have several data analytics program at the moment. We have training programs in research and data analysis using SPSS. We have training programs in Power BI for data analytics. We have training programs in both our research and data analysis is both basic and advanced. Right, good. So we have all of that. Then please take me to the next slide. Next slide, please. So, what are some of the products we have? I told us about a book that I wrote on choosing the right statistical analysis. So, it's a book that it's very much valuable to every particular person that is a frequent researcher. So, it's one that I've been able to cover in the book. I covered all the basics about research, some basics about research concepts, and then statistical analysis. So this ebook is focused more on the quantitative part of analysis. Yes, it's focused more on the quantitative part of analysis. So using statistical methods, right? So the book is very, very much affordable. It is one that ideally the book sells for 3,000 naira, but for those people that are students, they get it for 2,000 naira. And I'm also going to be extending that benefit to every person that attended this webinar today that is interested in getting the ebook, for giving that at 2,000 naira. So in case you're interested, you see the link displayed on the screen already, right? So, and Edijon, if you can also put up the account number on the banner that is showing on there, so that people that want to make direct transfers can make direct transfers. But you can as well just you can as well click on copy that link there, https:/bit.ly/3d. Good. So Edidion, please, somebody's interested. Can you just so sir you can either use the account details that is going to be put up, or yes. So he's making the changes now, which is going to be given to you. So the account details is going to be put up. So you can either pay through the account or you can pay through Paystack. So that link there, the link on the flyer you saw, on the deck you saw, will take you to Paystack in case you want to pay through Paystack. And that's and that offer is going to be available. The offer of 2,000 naira is only going to be available from now till tomorrow morning. So if you really want to grab that offer of 2,000 naira, then you have to make your payments this night before tomorrow morning. So good. Then the second one, so Gideon, don't worry, just take me back to the slides. They can always reach out. Good. Just take me back to the slides. I just want to show something. Then now we are rolling out a coaching program which is an exclusive membership program, which is research fellow exclusive membership. So now this one is targeted to people that are frequent researchers. So you're a lecturer, you're an academic, and it's something, if you are a lecturer, you need to boost your research productivity so that you can be able to get promotions, show yourself as a thought leader. So we understand that people are having so much challenges in research. Now, some even people that claim that they know, they actually don't know. Why? Because the person that taught them actually didn't know. So we are just passing on a vicious circle of ignorance. Let me use that word, a vicious circle of ignorance. And the impact that is having to us is that we see people bring in their research work for us to look at, or look at their data, help them do some kind of data analysis on their research. And they come at a time whereby the problem has already been done. So it becomes difficult to really actually help them. So we thought to ourselves that if we can have an exclusive membership whereby we are coaching people, that even from the very start, okay, you want to write a journal, you have this research idea, you want to start working on it. So somebody to properly guide you to say, okay, adopt this kind of methodology, go about this. This is how you can structure the analysis, right? Good. Um, Edidion, people are asking me if they can get the slide. So just type that they should make available their email. They should send us an email. We'll make it available to them. So later you put up the email. So if you send us an email requesting for the slides, we are going to make the slides available to you. Good. Then so we now rolled out this membership so that people from the very start, from the very start, you can have access. So please, they shouldn't just type their emails at their as a comment, please, because of the world is evil now, because of security issues. So Edition, just drop the email, own emails. They will send a message to the email and we'll forward it to them. Yeah, so that people will be just to protect people's identity. Yeah. So good. Now, we rolled out these services to help researchers to double their research productivity. So if you're able to understand research methodology, if you're able to understand data analysis, trust me, your research productivity is going to be up like this. Gideon, give me back that slide. Give me back that slide. Your research productivity is going to go up. It's going to go up like fire. Edidion, please, can you put up the slide? So I just included the testimony of one of our students that we've had that participated in our training program that we've been helping throughout monitor his research processes and everything. He has been able to, since he got in touch with us, since he started working with us, since we started working with him, he got in touch with us. He took one of our programs in July last year. Now, you see his testimonial there. Please, can you put up the slide for me? So you see his testimonial there, how he has been able to boost his research productivity. From his PhD work that he did, he has been able to come up with several other research works out of that same work and boost his research productivity to like about 4 5. The last time I talked with him, he said, hey sir, say me I still dey write another research work now. Ideas keep coming. Why? Because the whole thing now makes more sense to him, right? The whole thing now makes more sense to him. It's not just about administering questionnaire and the rest of it. It's beyond that. It's beyond that. So this is what we are going to help you understand. And if you are that kind of person that is interested in boosting your research productivity, and trust me, this is only for serious minds, because it's going to be very, very intense. You are going to be boxed up. You are going to be, when I'm coaching, I don't go easy. You understand? I don't go easy. We don't go easy. So it's only for the serious minds. Gideon, can you put up that slide for me? So now we are kicking off this. We are kicking off this coaching program. So it's starting from April, and it's strictly membership. You understand? It's strictly membership. You are going to have access to advisory. You are going to have access to um we are going to have access to a one-on-one guide. So we are going to hold you by the hand. So you can call in the night, say, Oga coach, I dey work on this thing, or you don't hold me, I will answer you. Do you understand? Where we have to go down to do the dirty work for you, we also do the dirty. By dirty work, I mean that we have to go down, do the analysis myself and everything. We do that for you. But it's strictly membership only. And what is the price? 30,000 naira, and it's 3 months long, right? So the 3 months, after the 3 months lapses, you are going to renew your membership. Do you understand? But as you keep on going, the price is going to drop down, but it is 30,000 naira, right? So um now we are going to start the pre-registration is going to be on. So I'm going to be giving an early bird window for people that participated in this webinar and want to join that the exclusive research membership, that between now and Saturday next week. The program is starting April. Yes, it's kickstarting April, but between now and Saturday, if you make payment, you're going to have an early bird window of 25,000 naira. But after that, you have to pay 30,000 naira. It's exclusive membership only. So with that, thank you very much, guys. So those of us that are requesting for requesting for account number to pay to, I guess by now the email and everything is showing on the screen, so you can be able to see all of that. I've been waiting for a question. Nobody has a question. No question from anybody. No question from anybody. No question from anybody. Okay. So that's the testimony I wanted to show us. That's the testimony I wanted to show us, right? So, and then something that you can also go on our website to check out more things about us on www.kenexedu.com. www.kenexedu.com. So do you have any question? Any question for me? No question for me. No question. So we understood clearly everything that was said. Perfect. I love you guys. So put your hands together for yourselves. Put your hands together for yourselves. So good. So at this moment, I'm going to say thank you all for coming. And ebook is also available. Remember, between now and tomorrow morning, if you make your payment, 2,000 naira. And then an early bird window for the exclusive membership between now and Saturday next week. You get it for 25,000 naira. After Saturday, it's going to be 30,000 naira for a 3 months intensive coaching program that will help you boost your research productivity. All aspects of research methodology, both quantitative, qualitative, mixed methods, data analysis, we are there for you. So thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate you all. So who are the people I can see here? Let me see. Thank you, NGK45. Thank you, Ayeni Adiola Henry. Thank you, Bini Nathaniel. Thank you, Wilson Inalegu. Thank you, Edidion Orok. Thank you, Omogosibo Kenneth. Thank you, Jimo Monsoor. Thank you, Ajayi Ojo. Thank you all for coming. And I say to you, have a wonderful night ahead. Thank you. So Edidion, now you can play us that your motivational video so that we'll use that one and grow small, and then we'll go and get ourselves fired up and motivated to register for that exclusive 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 membership research coaching. Yeah. So you can play the video now. Let me go and drink water. Edidion, play the video of that motivational video. So can I see some thank you? Oh, thank you, Mr. Bini Nathaniel. Yeah, thank you, Bini Nathaniel. So Edidion, you can play your video.